The reason we've been focusing on boys is because we are in triage. Boys are the ones that open fire on their classmates. Boys, a lot of the problems that girls and women have are because of the behaviors and the treatment from boys and men. So not to say that if we fix all the boys' problems, if the world's problems will be solved, but that's the place we're starting because that's where the fires are burning. That's where the damage is occurring. You don't have to be a perfect person to be a mentor. In fact, if you had struggles in your life, you've had a tough childhood or tough teen years, or even are struggling today to find meaning in your life, this program does a lot for mentors too.
Today I'm sitting with founder of Boys to Men Hawaii, Michael Bonahan. Michael, thank you for meeting with me.
It's an honor. Thank you.
I have my own Boys to Men t-shirt on, and I absolutely love the program. It's been really, really rewarding just in this last year that I've been participating. But for anyone who doesn't know, what is Boys to Men?
Well, first of all, Michael, thank you for participating. Boys to Men is just that, is men like you, concerned men in the community who decide they're going to show up for the boys and the young men because they care about them and the future of our community. So we are a nonprofit group of volunteers that essentially show up for boys in a group mentoring setting in the school. And the idea behind this is that so many of our young men today are growing up in fatherless households or don't have positive masculine role models in their lives. And so what Boys to Men does is it brings together a community of diverse, trained group mentors who sit in the middle of the school day with a group of boys, usually starting in 7th grade all the way through high school, and remind them that we are their allies, that the men in the community are not all authority figures, are not all coaches or teachers or disciplinary figures. We're here to support them in becoming the men they want to be.
What qualifies a boy to be in the Boys to Men program?
Any boy can participate. Our program is open to all boys because every young person needs a community of caring mentors, especially in the adolescent years. However, we do tend to get the boys that are referred to us through the counselors or administrators of the schools, teachers, boys that traditionally don't have a positive masculine role model in their life, or if they do have a dad or a role model in their life, they've got some other issues going on. Perhaps it's attendance or grades or disciplinary referrals. We tend to get boys with relatively thick files, and doesn't necessarily mean they're bad boys. It just means that they need to be paid attention to. And so any boy can qualify. We are in triage, so we are working with a lot of boys that face a lot of challenges in their community as well as in school. But our goal is to grow the program so that every young person, including boys with Boys to Men and girls with Girls to Women, will have that community of mentors that show up in their lives on a weekly basis. So,
what's the demographic of men that you see coming in as mentors?
Yeah, it's a good question. Because our program is in the middle of the school day, which is like the work day for most folks, we are getting more middle class to upper middle class to retired men who are, I would call them, more privileged. And that does not necessarily look like our boys. Our boys are over 90% non-white or haole, as we say here in Hawaii. And it doesn't matter as much. However, we are encouraging men who come from either Polynesian or Asian ancestry, men of color, to join our program. And we're looking at ways to make that easier for them, because often folks who look like the boys are also stuck in some of the same old paradigms as having to work a 9-to-5 job, don't have as many opportunities. However, they're their wisdom is profound and great and deep, and we need them in our circle. So this year we're stretching out to get, right now we have about 10% men of color, and we hope to get those numbers closer to be on par later this year. So it's an ongoing process based upon where we're at. So
take a step back real quick. So Boys to Men is a sub program from the Mankind Project. Is that right?
Actually, not really. What happened is about 23 years ago, two men who were involved in the Mankind Project, three actually, but two that were involved in the leadership track. They, after being involved in MKP for years, they said to themselves, why did I have to wait till I was in my 40s to get my rite of passage, to have the men come for me to have my hero's journey and find connection, get mentorship, and find a place of belonging. And so these two men, which was Craig McLean, Joe Sigurdson, and Joe's dad, Herb Sigurdson, is actually the third man. But these two men, along with Joe's father, founded Boys to Men in San Diego 23 years ago. And through the process of them pouring their heart and soul into it, and also through connections throughout the Mankind Project worldwide, programs spread to dozens of cities in the United States, mostly with the use of warrior brothers. That's what a Mankind Project member calls themselves. And also around the world, countries like Germany and Belgium and England. And today Boys to Men is in some form in places like Australia, New Zealand, South Africa, India, and it's growing. So, and obviously Canada. So yeah, it started a long time ago, and it is separate from the Mankind Project. However, it's almost asked the question, what is the need that the Mankind Project is filling, and why didn't we get this when we were young men? And man, every boy and every girl deserves this work. And so our goal is to grow the program so it is not 90% young men facing the most serious challenges in a boy's life, but includes everyone, because it's all our responsibility. The reason that most of these young men are facing challenges is because they don't have access to the resources, status, power, or support systems that successful adolescents do. However, even successful adolescents, are today, if you're growing up in today's world, you're growing up in a world where it's often a single parent household. It's often the parents or caretakers are working, and there's a disconnect between, because parents think, oh, I can be my son's mentor. And it's like, well, actually, no, you can be your son's parent, and that's your job. But if you think you can be the mentor and the parent, then you're missing out on something. And most importantly, that young person's missing out on feeling the support of the community, as opposed to somebody who has to, like their parent, be there for them. When a young person all of a sudden finds out, like we were in a J group several years ago in Waimea, and the kids were getting a little frustrated. One of them was getting frustrated, and he says, well, I can leave this group. You don't have to. I can leave here, but I still feel sorry for you because you're stuck here. This is your job. He said that to me, and I was just smiling. I just said, this is not my job. I'm here because I want to be. And he goes, well, you'll lose your job. You won't get paid. I said, I don't get paid. I'm here because I'm concerned about you. I'm here because I'm curious about what's going on in your life. And that changed their dynamic, the dynamic that we had in the mentoring circle. They were like, wow, you guys are here because you want to be. And that really changed things. So the young people are super smart, and they can tell if you're there because it's your job or not. They can tell whether you really care or not.
Yeah, no, I think the fact that it's volunteer is a critical part for the boys realizing the importance of what's going on, and that they're valued, that they don't feel like they're a burden, because that's
exactly
part of the trauma that they're dealing with.
Yeah, you're right about that, Michael. It is about my personal mission around Boys to Men is I believe every young person deserves the right to be valued and loved. And just to feel wanted, and to feel like I matter, and to feel like the things I'm going through I don't have to go through alone is such an important um, form of support for young people today. And the sooner we get involved in their lives, and to me, adults in the community really need to be involved throughout a child's life entirely. But as far as starting to focus on the issues that a young person faces through adolescence, as seventh and eighth grade is ideal. Sometimes by the time they're in high school, it's too late. It's like they've had it up to here. They do not trust a single adult person. They feel completely disconnected and not part of the community, and they're in the the screw you stage of their life, which is a natural stage to be in, to push back against the way things used to be when you were a child is a natural piece. But while they're pushing against something, they need something to steady themselves against, otherwise they're just pushing themselves off into a place of feeling disconnected and isolated.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's super important, and so we're all volunteers, except for obviously we have to do some administration, executive director, program director, and some people to help make sure we're crossing all of our T's and dotting our I's. And the most important thing that we do in the program is actually to recruit, train, and support mentors, so that the volunteers don't feel like they're, that's something difficult or challenging they have to do. We try to make it easy for them and support them to mentor.
So what brought you into mentorship as opposed to just going through your own process with Mankind Project?
Well, it has a lot to do with my own life story. My mother divorced my dad when I was 1 year old and moved from Kansas City, Missouri to Hawaii. And so in the process of that happening, I felt like I was abandoned by my father. Obviously, he didn't do it himself. It was the circumstance between my parents' relationship, but I didn't have my dad in my life growing up. And the role models I did have were mostly unhealthy ones. My mother was attracted to men who were had a lot of dysfunction in their lives, that were abusive to the point of violence. So I was raised around a lot of traumatic moments in my childhood. I grew up super fast. And my mother, when I was 12 or 13, my mother said she was going to move back. We were on the run from this guy that was trying to kill us. And she was going to move back to California and marry this guy that had tried to kill us, had this whole murder-suicide thing he was trying to pull on us. And at that point, I said no. I was entering puberty. I'd been through the ringer with her, and I kind of sort of self-initiated. I called my father and said, I want us to come and live with you. And so from the age of 13 all the way through the first couple of years of college, I lived with my father. So I actually was naturally attracted to go and be with the men at that point in my life. It was, while he was a good dad, as good as he could be considering his life circumstances, there were several men that were his friends, Jerry Jabin, some other men, Jim Wheeler, some other men that in the community that I wasn't related to, that showed up in my life and were there for me to be able to talk about all the things I was going through, the trauma, the experiences, and these men just listened and supported me and gave me opportunities to be of service to them, to get paid, and also in service to just the community. And it was through that support I realized that that's part of why I became successful in my life. And so I do this work for those men that showed up as mentors in my life. And so as soon as when the Mankind Project, I'm not sure have you done the New Warrior Training Adventure, Michael?
No.
So there's a process, you look at mission, like what is the mission in your life on that weekend? And then when I went through the mission, my life's mission, it was initially about focusing about getting my own house in order. My mission was about, just remembering the hopes and dreams of my little boy, about looking at what was important to me as I was growing up, and also some deep spiritual and personal shadow work that I was doing. And then what happens is if you do your work, if you go to integration groups and you stay actively involved in personal development, your mission will change over time. And my mission began to shift from one of a personal mission to more of a mission of service, and a mission that was aligned with my purpose. There's a word in Hawaiian that's called kuleana, and it means your sacred purpose or your responsibility. And this work really fell in line because I had wounds around that, fell in line with my purpose. So another saying we have is that, your deepest wounds can become your greatest gifts. And so since I didn't have positive masculine role models in my life, I wanted to help ensure that they would be there for boys in the similar circumstances as I had.
Yeah, that's awesome. And I feel like that's probably the fundamental reason why a lot of men are attracted to the mentorship role is to really go back into the community and facilitate the healing that they had to struggle through themselves, alleviate some of the pressure on the community.
Exactly.
So as a mentor, like, what do you get out of it personally?
Oh, wow. There's a deep satisfaction in knowing that I tried, that I showed up. Personally, remembering truths about the process of becoming a man, remembering them is great. To be able to see some of the struggles and also the inspiration, some of the challenges, and also the epiphanies that young people have. And I think it's part of my responsibility, and in a way, a part of all of our responsibility, to truly listen to young people, because they are going to be the leaders of the world. So I look at it as planting seeds for trees where I'll never sit in the shade of those trees. I think it's important that it gives me a sense of life fulfillment and purpose. I don't have any kids of my own, but I'm also the president of Boys to Men USA, the national organization that supports other Boys to Men communities. So I've got thousands of boys that are I feel like I'm responsible for, and that it's my purpose to look out for them. So every person I meet, especially as they get older in their life, it's like after chasing all the brass ring or ticking all the boxes that add up to the American dream, as far as partner, house, kids, job. Ultimately, the common theme is that people eventually arrive, if they're on a spiritual journey, arrive to a life of service, and through that life of service, that's where fulfillment comes.
Yeah, totally. And as a side note, I think it's one of the hallmarks of people who spend a lot of time in spiritual practice who don't have an aspect of service in their life. It usually, to me, is a red flag.
Yeah, well, every person's on their own journey, and for some that are deeply conflicted, their journey may take a lifetime of just internal work, and so I do not fault anybody for doing that. Thank you for doing that work. And for a lot of people, it does manifest and externalize in service, and often to sort of righting the wrongs that we experienced when we were growing up. And so that's what Voice of Men is for me.
Yeah, and along those lines, in a conversation with my own mentor, who is in Mankind Project, he brought up something that was really significant, in that there is an incompleteness. There's a sense of incompleteness in your own healing until you facilitate that healing in someone else.
It's a classic case of projection, right? And sometimes it does take. It's almost like for every 10 people I support in healing, I might get a whole healing myself.
Right.
Often we say when we either support or witness a person doing personal work, we say, thank you for doing my work. And you're right. It's a natural progression. It's also a sense of feeling like I'm not alone. When I find someone else who is struggling, who's been wounded, who has some of the same life story or similar life story that I have, it's like, if this person can be okay, I can be okay too. So it's a powerful thing. We just came off of a 28-man New Warrior training adventure with a staff of an MOS of 43 men. and it was um, a beautiful transformational weekend of healing for the men who had participated in the training itself, as well as for the staff. So,
Yeah. The last thing I want to ask you is, you know, how would a new mentor get involved?
well, yeah. So, if you go to Boys to Men Hawaii's website, which is B the number two M Hawaii.org, there are places to essentially read about what it is to be a mentor, and to sign up, to fill out a brief application. Like I say, people, if you think you're not going to be a good mentor, well, that's probably one of the qualities that will make you a good mentor is humility. So thank you for doubting yourself, because every authentic person in the world doubts themselves, and these boys are doubting themselves. So by all means, we need mentors from every walk of life, from every life experience. So please get involved, and we'll train you. We'll train you for free. If you have trouble if you need support getting a ride to attend the weekend, to attend either the adventure weekends we do or the J groups that we do. I mean, we will support you in getting there, and doing it. Like I said, it's like one of the more fulfilling things that I've ever done. And I'm going to go sit in a J group this afternoon with a fellow mentor that says he cares about two things. He cares about his kids, and now that they're all adults, his grandchildren, and he cares about the boys and his Boys to Men. He's not circles. He's not worried about anything else. And that's pretty amazing to have somebody who just shows up and cares for you. So our boys are very fortunate, and we need more mentors. So please come, and it's a very minimal commitment. Literally, the minimum would be 1 year, maybe 9 meetings after you've been trained. The training's only a 1-day training. There are background checks, but it doesn't really matter what you've done. We can't, RSOs, registered sex offenders, we can't, or if you've been convicted of family abuse, you can't be however, I mean, any other crimes, drug crimes, violent offenses, whatever, if you've got a record, it's not going to keep you out as long as you're forthcoming about it, and have paid your debts and so forth, and show up. So it takes all kinds. We need men from every walk of life.
Awesome. Well, I really appreciate you taking the time to talk with me about this, and I really hope that we can get this message out to really show people that the community really needs this support, and we welcome anyone to come in and help out.
Well, thank you, Michael, for your interest in supporting and promoting the work that we're doing. Really glad that a man of your caliber and quality is sitting in circle with our boys. They need young, powerful men of purpose to show up in their lives. So thank you for doing that.
Yeah, thank you.
It is easier to build strong children than to fix broken men.